Hey everybody, welcome back to another action figure unboxing and review, Star Wars The Black Series edition. And today we're going to be taking a look at Darth Vader from Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary. And this is the Darth Vader, the definitive Darth Vader in my mind, of the one with the removable helmet. I've been waiting for this one in the Black Series line since I started collecting about 2 or 3 years ago, which is not that long, I know, but still waiting for an Imperial Gunner. I can't believe they haven't produced one of those yet for Black Series. But anyway, so I've been looking forward to this one. This is one of the iconic scenes in the trilogy when he dying has Luke remove his mask so he can look on him with his own eyes for one last time. And I got this rather like a month or two ago, but it's been sitting in my pile of figures I need to get through. And I did Luke earlier, so now I'm gonna review his father. And of course, spoiler alert, he is Luke's father as well as Princess Leia's. He and Padme conceived, and then she gave birth to the twins in Revenge of the Sith, which of course we saw, 19 years ago. And we got the culmination of Anakin's sacrifice in 1983 during Return of the Jedi, which I saw in the theater with my dad. He brought me to see all 3 of those films, even though I was too young. I hadn't been born yet, actually, when A New Hope came out. But he did bring me to see the re-release of A New Hope. They had a tendency of re-releasing the other films when the new one was released. So, like, they re-released A New Hope around when Empire came out, and then they re-released A New Hope and Empire around when Return of the Jedi came out. So, I saw them multiple times in the theater before Lucas started changing everything with special editions. It was nice to be able to see the originals as they were meant to be seen. Although there are some changes for the special editions that I did like the extra Wampa scenes and the Empire were nice, as well as the updated special effects and, high definition, better sound. That was all good. So it wasn't all Greedo shooting first. It wasn't all bad in that manner. Unlike Luke, I haven't opened Vader yet. He's still sealed on card, so just take a look at the card. It's same as the one that came with Luke. It's got a picture of him standing on the Death Star 2, pointing his finger. In the early days of the internet, like in the 90s when the internet was still brand new, I used to use this picture right here. Not this exact picture, but the same image. I used to use that as my avatar. So that takes me back. And then on the back, you got all this legalese. You got a little blurb about this 40th anniversary, and then you have all the other figures that came out in the line. I've collected these 4, but I skipped the Rebel Commando. Wasn't interested in getting any good guys except for the core group, which is Luke, Leia, Han, Chewie, Ben, Lando, and the 2 droids. I didn't even pick up a Yoda. I might pick up a Yoda. I haven't decided yet. I don't know what I would do with him. He'd just be kind of sitting there. So let's get this open. I don't have fingernails. There we go, finally. I like to try to keep them as intact as possible, so that I can still display them on card if I want. So like that. Now if I put this into a plastic acrylic display case, I could still hang it on the wall and it would still look like it was intact unless you took a really close look at it. And here we have Vader. Let's get all his individual parts and pieces out. I haven't decided yet whether or not this Vader will replace my Empire on my display. Depends on how I feel about him after getting him out and putting him through the motions. Now, my Empire, a lot of people say the Empire version of Vader is the best one, and that could very well be, but mine has a huge QC issue with the helmet, in that they not only are the edges of the helmet, these parts right here, not only are they splayed way out, so it looks ridiculous, but they also glued it on his head. It's crooked. So instead of being even like that, it's kind of like this. So this one will have to be pretty bad in order for me not to switch them out. And here we have the man himself. Pretty cool figure as usual, as you can expect from a Darth Vader figure. The face, I'm not so sure about. It doesn't really resemble Sebastian Shaw, the actor who played him unmasked in Return of the Jedi. It doesn't really resemble him that much, I don't believe. So they may not have bothered to get his likeness rights, or his estate's likeness rights. They might have just gone and tried to make one that looks as close as possible to him without actually looking like him, so they didn't have to pay his family or his descendants or whatever. Makes me wonder if we're ever going to get a Force Ghost Sebastian Shaw, because we got Anakin. Obviously, Lucas famously replaced Sebastian Shaw in that final scene in Return of the Jedi when you see the ghosts of Obi-Wan and Yoda and Anakin looking at Luke. They replaced Sebastian Shaw in that scene with Hayden Christensen, which is one of those changes to the trilogy I did not approve of. I think they should have left it as Sebastian Shaw. I think it was disrespectful to him to take him out of that scene. And thankfully, well, I mean, there's good parts and bad parts to Lucas not having control over Star Wars anymore. The bad part is Disney has control of it now, and they've been pretty terrible with it. But the good part is Lucas can't decide to go back and replace Sebastian Shaw in the unmasking scene with Hayden Christensen, rather. I think that would, an aged up Hayden Christensen, just take Sebastian Shaw completely out of the film entirely. I think that would be terrible and hugely disrespectful to him, to his memory. But yeah, he's got all the scars that you'd expect from his lava bath. But actually, he didn't actually touch lava. He just got ignited by the heat. So the flames, the damage the flames did to his head and his face. He comes out of the package, of course, with his hand already chopped off by Luke. You can see the detail on the wiring and whatnot that's inside, but you can also pop that off and put on a normal hand if you want him to be pre-beaten in that final duel. There's another thing I like about this character, because this version of Vader reminds me of that final duel and the epic choral singing that they had when the two of them were fighting for the final time, before Luke finally defeated him. And of course, he's got the cloth cape, which has no wiring, so it's not going to pose for you. It's just going to hang loose like this. And it's heavy duty, too. This is a heavy cape. So there are benefits, negatives and positives to having the cape like this. The positive being that it will hang naturally. Unlike wired capes, it's harder to get them to hang naturally because the wire is difficult to smooth out so that it does hang loose and natural. But the negative being, of course, that you can't get him into poses like standing there with his cape flowing behind him like that, or flowing to the side rather. Also, his underrobe is also cloth, unlike the Mafix Rogue One Vader, which has a plastic underrobe. And he's got some nice detail done on his control boxes here. Got the armor piece on the top there, and you can see it on the back as well. You know, Hasbro may skimp out on paint apps for some characters, for most characters, I should say, but they never seem to do it for Vader. They always go all out on Vader, which is good. He's got the black bodysuit underneath with the gloves. He's got that black shoulder armor, and then he's got the black metal boots here, or the boot covers, I should say, and those aren't the actual boots. Those are the armor that covers the shin and the knee coming down to the actual boot here. So just an all-around great-looking Vader. I'm not going to remove his head because I don't want to mess with the bottom part of his mask. So we'll just do articulation like this. He can look forward that far. He can look up about that far. He can do the Exorcist's bottom part of his mask and all. He's got some tilt going on there. He can move his arms all the way around. Looks like the shoulder piece is glued to the top of his arm there. So it moves with the arm. He can't quite get 90 degrees for a T-pose. He does have a single jointed pinless elbow. He can get about that far because of the lack of a bulging bicep, and he can swivel in and out. He has a vertical hinge on his left hand, which also has a nice force choking grip on it, which is good. Just bringing up his right hand real quick just to show the articulation there. It also has an up-down hinge. Okay, at his waist, it looks like he's got a cut right below the chest control box. I guess they didn't want to give him a hip or a waist joint because the belt and the cod piece probably would have interfered with the movement there. So they gave him a cut. It's kind of like a diaphragm cut, but significantly lower than diaphragm cuts normally go. He can crunch forward about that far, and he can get back about that far. He can tilt a little bit on it. He can turn at it. And he can hula hoop a bit. Now, Black Series does not have drop-down hips, so he can spread it out about that far. No Van Damme. He can kick out about that far and kick back about that far. He does have thigh cuts. He's got the single jointed, but he's got pinned legs, so they use the same legs that they used for previous Vaders. He does not have a hinge either, a swivel on that leg. So very disappointing. They didn't go with a different pair of legs. These are probably the same legs they used for the original Vader that they released at the beginning of the line. I can't imagine they would have changed it at all because there would be no need to. He never looks any different. He never, like below the waist, never looks any different. I think the reason they went pinless for the arms maybe because of this. They would have had to have sculpted at least another lower arm in order to get this piece, because originally this piece wasn't separate. It was glued, it was sculpted in. So they would have had to re-sculpted the lower arm. And I guess when they did that, they decided just to remove the pins and make them pinless. They did the upper arms as well. I think the Empire Vader was pinless as well on the upper arms. I can't remember though. I don't have the original released Vader, so I don't know whether or not he was pinless at the arms. So back to the legs. So he doesn't have the swivel at the knee, and he doesn't have a boot cut, which means you have like no movement side to side down here, only front and back. His foot can go all the way back though. Vader could be a ballerina. You can't get too far forward because of the edge of the armor on his boot there, over his boot. You can't slide around. He's got peg holes on the bottom. Now, accessories wise, of course, he's got that alternate hand. It pops off easily enough. And then you can pop on his actual, as a working hand. And of course, if you want to give him his iconic mask. Let's see, I'm doing this for the first time on camera. So let's see if I can get it right. Okay. That's a fiddly little thing. And there he goes, masked up. That looks, no, that looks crooked, actually. Okay, so maybe this wasn't designed very well. I'd actually heard from some people that this Vader isn't as good as the Empire one, and I think they're right. I do like the iconic look with the removable mask, but maybe they should have just given us an alternate masked head instead of having the pieces. I guess they wanted us to be able to act out the entire sequence where Luke removes the top part of his helmet and then the front of his helmet as well. But they probably should have made it so that the pieces snapped on easier to make it so that it wasn't so fiddly and so easy to knock off. Let me take it off camera real quick and see if I can't get it to fit better by looking at it closer. If I got it right in my hands, right in front of me, instead of with the camera sitting between me and my eyes, I might be able to figure it out better. No matter how I do it, it still looks like there's a gap in the front between the bottom part of the face shield and the neck guard. And of course it still wants to pop off his head. The top part sticks to the mask pretty well, but the mask itself doesn't stick to the neck piece very well. That's where the problem is. Oh well, back to the drawing board, Hasbro. Maybe we won't have to, hopefully we won't have to wait so long for you to give us another removable helmet Vader. And this time have the mask snap into place instead of just kind of being loose like it is. And lastly, Vader, of course, comes with a lightsaber. Yeah, come on. This is Vader's iconic lightsaber. It's got the red blade, and of course, Hasbro Black Series, so you can pop out the blade, and you're left with the hilt. And it's got some silver paint there, and on the bottom, around the middle there, and on the button, I guess, to activate it. And then there's the silver on the hook. And Vader has a hook right here on his belt. That tab can go through. Vader can hold his lightsaber there. Kind of hangs loose though, so you gotta be careful. Can knock it off fairly easy, I imagine. So yeah, I am kind of disappointed that the mask doesn't snap into place so that you can easily keep it on him. But this is still Darth Vader with a removable helmet, so it's still cool to me. And I might still have him replace the Empire 1 on my shelf just because the Empire 1's helmet looks worse in comparison, since it's off-center and the edges are flayed way out. I like this Vader minus the helmet. If they ever re-release this one with the helmet that fits a little better, I'll probably get that one and just pack this one away. But until then, this one will have a place of honor on my shelf. Maybe if Mafex comes out with another Vader, a Vader that has a cloth underrobe and is not as fiddly, you know, his joints don't slide all over the place when you're trying to pose him, I might put that one up on my shelf. Until then, I think I'll go with this one. Because if he's just standing there, at least the helmet's not going to fall off. Of course, if he falls off the shelf, I do have glass in front of it, but if he like falls against the glass or just falls to the side or whatever, the helmet will probably go flying. So I'd have to fix that again. Anyway, the poll's still up on my community tab for next week's reviews, so go ahead and vote on that, and then like and subscribe on this video, comment down below, and I'll see you next time.